Hello everyone. With the new edition of the VR training room, I thought I'd take this opportunity to try to make a more flight skills video with Liberator. I could do this in the regular game, but I'm just deciding to do it in the VR anyway. I'm using Afterburner, Nanite Auto Repair, and High G all maxed. I do have this same setup in-game, except I don't have Afterburner all the way maxed. Since I'm just doing flight skills, it doesn't matter what weapons I'm using, just using pretty much stock, except Tank Buster, because I couldn't help but putting that on there. And so there we go. So, first things first, let's make sure I get into a squad with my friend here. There we go. So the first thing with the lib is just being able to hover around and doing fine-tuning with using vertical thrust and pitching. You don't really need much forward thrust to get you places. Just using your vertical thrust and pitching, you can do small adjustments to get your gunner a shot. Now this is pretty critical. If you're zooming around like this, my gunner always complains when I'm flying with forward thrust because I'm moving in too many different directions, and it prevents him from getting good shots. So just cutting forward thrust, and then just using vertical thrust and pitching either forward to go forward, back to go back, side to move around is a good technique. The other thing this is doing is constantly moving you up, and being up is always good in a Liberator. Your gun is on the bottom. The only time it can hurt you is if there's infantry and rendering issues there, but for the most part, it's okay. The next thing I'm going to talk about is the maneuver I use when I'm kind of running away, but I still want to give my gunner a shot. I'm basically flying backwards. What I do is I pitch up like this. With vertical thrust, I'm just kind of flying backwards like this. Vertical thrust, holding W, I have given my gunner a shot. I'm flying away from whatever is hitting me. My tail gunner also has a shot. And then once I get close to the warp gate, I can just easily flip down and get in and be good. So that's a good maneuver that I use sometimes. It depends on how many things are on you. Since you are broad like that, it's really easy for a Reaver to hit you with a Rotary or a Mossy or a Scythe, whatever. So you got to kind of use that when it's appropriate, and you'll just learn when that is. The next maneuver isn't really a maneuver, it's just how to turn with High G. If you're turning with A and D in a High G lib, you're not going to have a good time. What you really need to do is pitch completely sideways, hold D, and push vertical thrust and pull down with your mouse. As you can see, my game's glitching a little bit, but it's working. This is the fastest way to turn with a Liberator. Now note, you cannot really go the other way as effectively, because one thing it's doing is not giving your gunner a shot. This is used very often with trying to keep a shot on a Reaver. So I'll show you that now. So fighting a Reaver, you can see over there Alpha 2 is a friend of mine who's now going to start attacking me once he finds me over here. So the first thing to do is once he starts shooting, you need to pitch over and start rolling. What that does is get you out of his fire, and as he's turning around, like right there was a perfect shot for my gunner to get a shot on him. And you need to watch when you're using Afterburner. I'm only using Afterburner when he has a clear line at me and he starts shooting. Once he starts shooting, that's when I hit my Afterburner and I start doing the roll. And we do this little dogfight here. Eventually, after they have a couple Dalton shots whizzing past their head, they will start to gain distance and try to get away from me. And that's again when you use Afterburner on them. But you're kind of using that same turn that I just taught you. You're getting up, and the second they start shooting is when you start using the Afterburner. It's kind of hard to tell in VR when I'm getting hit and not, but I'm not getting hit pretty much at all. The same kind of technique works for the Liberator, so go ahead and switch to a Liberator. I'll set a waypoint so he can find me. I don't even know if you can set waypoints in VR. You can! So another thing to talk about is just kind of the mentality you have to have in a Liberator when fighting ESFs. You have to basically be not afraid. If you are running away constantly, you're just pretty much going in a straight line and they're going to mow you down. Relying on your tail gun, even if it's like a highly upgraded walker, to keep any moderately skilled ESF off you is going to result in you having a bad time. You're going to have a much better time fighting them when you have the Dalton shooting them and getting shots on them, and when you're using this kind of turn mechanic to get out of their fire. Ender, go ahead and pick up a Liberator. Can you pick him up from that tower?
There's some terminals.
Now, fighting a Liberator, there's a couple different things you want to think about here. And it's mostly going to be to deal with the approach. So, I'm going to go about with attacking a Liberator first. So, Ender, go ahead and pop up a little bit and just kind of hover. So if I see a Liberator out in the distance, the first thing I want to do is start climbing. I want to get above him. Whoever is above usually wins. And the basic kill move is to come down right on him, open up with a tank bust, and then pitch up and give your gunner with the Dalton a shot. And that is a kill right there with a Liberator. You can completely kill a Liberator with the tank buster. I always end up missing some of the bullets needed to kill them, but it is possible. Now, fighting a Liberator, again, you're always going to want to be above them. Usually when you're fighting a Liberator, you get in kind of to this circling duel. If the other Liberator is tank busting, you really need to, again, use that afterburner the same way you did against an ESF, and start using the afterburner directly when they're firing, and watch out when they belly up like that. When they belly up like that, that's when they're going to be trying to tank bust you, or to Dalton or Zephyr you, and you need to, again, keep sharp angles on them. Really, your gunner, if they're skilled, can make shots from this angle on that Liberator. It is hard, but it's necessary to do because you're giving their gunner very little shot. And if you do see a shot coming at you, you can, again, afterburner away from it, and just right there was a perfect shot for a Dalton, again. So that's kind of fighting Liberators. The other thing you have to do when there's Liberators around is always watch your tail. You do not want a Liberator coming from above on you, swooping down and tank busting you. If that does happen to you, if you start getting tank busted, you instantly need to gain as much velocity as you can. It sounds stupid, but sometimes diving down, going belly up, to give your gunner a shot is the best option, and then once you get dangerously close to the ground, pulling up and getting out of it. If you get surprised, usually they are thinking that you're a completely naive target. So if you just go belly down and dive to get away from this fire, and I crashed, but if you go belly down to get away from the fire and you get a couple Dalton shots on them, that can usually save your life. So, that's a quick video on Liberator flight tactics. I hope you learned a little something. This is requested. Maybe I'll do something better and more formal later. But for now, that's all. Have a good day.